determines everything. The lion is the king of the jungle because of one word: attitude. Everybody say attitude. Write it down. Attitude. The lion has a different attitude that makes every animal afraid of him. Now, we don't want to lead by fear, but it does take respect for you to become a leader. When I use the word fear in the jungle, we're talking about respect. The elephant respects the lion. The hyenas respect the lion. The giraffes, they respect the lion. What makes these massive animals respect such a small cat? The attitude is the difference. For example, a lion will see an elephant, and the thing that comes to his mind, one word: lunch. I could eat this thing. And he acts the way he thinks. Now, here's another amazing mystery. The elephant is larger, bigger, stronger, more powerful, heavier, and more intelligent. And yet, when the elephant sees the lion, one word comes to mind: eater. Attitude is a product of belief. You cannot have an attitude beyond your belief. So your attitude comes from your belief system. The lion is the king because of what he believes about himself.
He's so humble, never touch a lion, roaring. I'm walking through this valley of tests, and I've never been a weak caught in the wilderness. The power of God preserves I, guiding in all I do. So treading through the heights and the depths, we trample frustration and we conquer stress. The power of God preserves I and guides in all I do. So all the evils that mean me harm can go back where they came from. No demonic words perform shall prosper. Yeah, I tell you of your hand the science man come, 'cause we can't squeeze the lion palm. No demonic words performed shall prosper. The wages of blessing is ever living a life, so we keep our meditation in high. We'll weather the storm and put up a fight, 'cause we can do anything. And should you feel like giving up, let the strength of your ancestors fill your cup. The power of God preserves I and guides in all I do. So all the evils that feel me harm can go back where they came from. No demonic words perform shall prosper. Man come, 'cause him can't squeeze the lion palm. Can't touch a lion, so strong. Roaring lion. And the more them a aisle up, and the more them business wild up. Yes, the more them come with science, no, them can't break the heart of a lion. The more them are eyed up, and the more them business wild up. The power of God preserves I and guides in all I do. So all the evils This morning I woke up and I looked in the mirror and every part of my body was in place. Many people died and never saw this day. So another day I live, I appreciate. Don't ever wanna act too high and mighty, cause tomorrow I can fall down on my face. So in everything, Lord, I give you praise, and that puts a smile on my face. Lord, I thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day, beautiful day, beautiful day. Don't fuss and fight, let us unite. We got one life, so let's make it right. It's a beautiful day, yeah. It's a beautiful day. So yeah, though I walk through the valleys of the shadows of death, I will fear no evil, won't be dismayed when I see the clock ticking away and things are not in place. Everything in life happens for a reason. Disappointment comes with a lesson. It's for me to get wiser, got to work harder. In the end, it will get better. Lord, I thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day, it's a beautiful day. Please don't fuss and fight, let us unite. Let us unite. Yeah. So let's make it right. It's a beautiful day. Yeah. It's a beautiful day. If you got life, then give God praise. You may not have much, but you're living day by day. You can't have faith and don't wanna work. you for rain. Thank you for joy. Thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day. Beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. Don't fuss and fight. Let us unite. You got one life. It's a beautiful day.
Recording in progress.
It's a beautiful day.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope we're all doing well on this special occasion. I officially call the meeting to order at this time. It's now 9 a.m. on the dot. I hope everyone here is feeling well and ready to engage in this meaningful discussion, ready to fully participate in all that would have been planned for you today. The theme today is Leadership for Success, the vital role of student leadership. My name is Dane Sinclair, and I will be your moderator for today. Before we go into the program, just to share with you my opening remarks. If we have learned anything from the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, it is that we have a need for resilient, purposeful leadership. And I will say it again. We have a need for resilient, purposeful leadership. It is then quite fitting, colleagues and students alike that are here today, that the Association of Principals and Vice Principals for the Cornwall County saw it fit to plan and host a symposium focusing on student leadership. Leadership is influence, and young people are called on to demonstrate courage, creativity, loyalty, honesty, self-regulation, fairness, compassion, intelligence, determination, enthusiasm, humor, fairness, and generosity. It must be noted that you are not being called, students, to be managers, but rather leaders. A leader is not a manager. A manager is the act, or management rather is the act of controlling a group or setting or a set of entities. Leadership, on the other hand, friends, is an individual's ability to influence, motivate, and enable others to contribute meaningfully. I'll reiterate, leadership is an individual's ability to influence, motivate, and enable others to contribute meaningfully. It is then my hope that all who have gathered here today on this platform have answered the call of leadership, that you have answered today the call of leadership. And as I said, leadership is influence. It is the ability to influence others to contribute meaningfully to one's cause. Just to share a few quotes before we dive into the program outline. According to John Quincy Adams, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Once again, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are indeed a leader. Please note, colleagues and students, that while some people want it to happen, some wish it would happen, a leader is someone who makes it happen. And according to the famous Abraham Lincoln, the best way to predict your future is to create it. If you are truly a leader, then you will not be sitting, wasting time wondering, but you'll be out making the difference, creating the future you wish for yourself. Once again, I welcome you to this platform, and we're going to go straight into the devotional exercise at this time. Help me invite our devotion will be conducted by Pastor Christoph Hyman, and I'm seeing that he is online. Let's just welcome Pastor Hyman. You can do that with a little emoji in the chat to show your welcome. Let's just welcome Pastor Hyman as he will take us into the devotional exercise, because we cannot do anything without invoking the presence of God. Are you ready, Mr. Hyman? Thank you, thank you. I see the emojis coming in. It's over to you now, Pastor Hyman.
I trust that I am being heard.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
All right. Good morning, everybody. It is a privilege and a pleasure to be sharing with you this morning in your wonderful program here, this leadership, student leadership symposium. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks to Principal Edwards for his invitation, and to the Association of Principals and Vice Principals for the Cornwall County. I'm truly grateful to be here to share with you on the matter of leadership. I want to share with you from the Word of God, as it is our devotional exercise. I invite you to bow your heads with me as we pray. Let us pray. Our Father and our God, we are truly grateful for the opportunity this morning to be leaders with excellence. I pray, God, that as I share a word with your people this morning, that it may be a blessing. Thank you for your mercies. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen. Amen. There's a song that we sing in church. We are living, we are dwelling in a grand and awful time. It is a potent song that reflects what is happening in our country, in our world today. And we are all a part of a great, I want to put it to say that we are living in unprecedented times. Thus, there is a call for leaders who can lead in difficulties. But in order for you to lead in difficult time, you must be able to understand what it means to be a leader extraordinaire. So this morning, I want to share with you a passage of scripture from the Word of God that is very familiar to many. The passage of scripture that I share with you this morning comes from the book of Philippians. The book of Philippians. The Word of God says in Philippians chapter 2, and we're looking at verse 5, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon himself the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in the fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even to the death of the cross. This morning, I want to speak to you from the caption, leading as a servant. Leading as a servant. I trust that I have about 10 more minutes remaining to share with you this morning. Leadership, as John Maxwell says, is hardship, especially the fact that you have to lead in these difficult circumstances. I, having been a student leader when I was at the great Albertown High School, I have a taste of what it means to be a student leader when the students who you advocate for will not walk in the path that is right. I can just imagine how difficult, as a head boy, as a head girl, as a student prefect, as the head of the student council, how difficult it can be for you to lead when the students that you lead, you do not know how their faces look anymore because of the internet age. It is difficult to lead amid the fact that even though you have been provided with the necessary human resources from your principal and teachers in the form of administrators, yes, it is difficult to lead in these unprecedented times. COVID-19 has thrusted you into a time of leadership where it is difficult to comprehend what is happening around you. But this morning, I want to charge you that though it is your first time leading in times like these, it is possible. It is possible. It is possible because as long as you have God on your team, you are going to make it. I want to say that again. As long as you have God on your team, you will make it. With man, the Bible says it is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. I know it is difficult to lead, but I want to encourage you today that you must lead with dignity. Yes, it is difficult to lead, but lead with integrity. It's difficult to lead, but lead without being impartial. Lead knowing that God will sustain you. It is difficult in these times to be sustained because there are so many persons who are finding loopholes into being successful. And so they're saying that in order to be a successful leader, you must cheat the system. But I want to encourage you today that there are still leaders who are not cheating the system and are still successful. And in order for you to have this level of success, you must rest assured that God will take care of you. You must rest assured that no matter what is happening, that God is still the keeper. He's still he just as he did for the children of Israel in the wilderness. He was to them a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. I am suggesting to you this morning that even though leadership gets difficult, you can trust God. And we must follow the example that Jesus has set in Philippians chapter 2, verse 5. The Bible says that Jesus made himself of no, he took off his priestly self. He took off his godness, and in order to save humanity in which he was leading, he had to make himself in the form of humanity. I want to say to you that Jesus recognized in order to lead humanity, he must come to be a part of us. And when he came to be a part of us, he said to himself that he will be in the world, but not a part of the world. I'm saying to you this morning, leaders, that in order for you to be a great principal, you must understand what it means to be a good teacher. In order for you to be a good head boy, or a perfect head girl, or a perfect prefect, you have to stand in the capacity of a student who does not have it all together. Yes, it is difficult. Yes, it is hard. But you for us have to be a servant. And some of us, when we get head boy, when we start to walk with the head boy badge or the head girl badge or the principal badge or the vice principal badge, we believe that we have reached. But I want to let you know this morning, that success is not final. Success is not final. You will never be able to reach the ultimate until God is involved. Success is not final. And I want to also say to you this morning that if in your position of a principal, vice principal, head boy, head girl, or a student leader, it seems as you are failing, I want to let you know that failure is not fatal. So even though you feel like a failure, you are not holding your student body together, you are not holding your school together, you are not holding your prefect body together, I want you to know that even though it seems like failure, you can turn it around, because with God all things are possible. I want to say to you this morning, beloved friends, that when you have come to the crunch time and it feels like you cannot make it, it feels like you don't have everything together, I want to let you know that God is still able. Or somebody need to say amen. I say God is still able. We serve a mighty God. And so, beloved friends, yes, it is difficult to lead. Yes, in these times it is hard to lead, but I know that I am not at church and I'm not in a preaching session, but I want to just have church for a little bit in here. I want to have church for a little bit in this meeting. I want to say to leaders this morning that do not drop your standards to please anybody. I said, do not drop your standards to please anybody. When you go to school in the days, let me just talk to our principal and vice principals for a little. When you go to school in the days, it's like you feel like a sheep walking among wolves. But I want to encourage you this morning, as you go to school, whether it be on Zoom or face to face, when you go, rest assured that you can claim the blessings of God. That says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the I know that I should not be preaching, but I get excited when I talk about the word of God. I'm saying to you, principals and vice principals, yes, when you go to school, it feels as if you are in a den of lions. But I want you to know this morning that no weapon formed against God's people is able to prosper. As I lift your heads up, or pull your shoulders together and walk like a child of God, because as a child of God, you would know that He will cause 10,000s to fall on your right hand and 10,000s on the other. I want you to know that when you are wrapped up, tied up, and tangled, I know that I'm not preaching, but I know that I should not be preaching. But I want to say to you this morning, in order to make a difference, you have to know that God is on your side. Student leaders, when you decide to take a stand, they would say to you that you are selling out the students for administration. Let me tell you something. As a student leader, you must be a cut above the rest. You must be a cut above the rest. While you are humble, and let me tell you something, humility is not silence. I want to say that again. I say humility is not silence. Humility is accepting that you are inadequate, but God is adequate. And I want to let you know that God does not call the qualified, but He qualifies those who He called. As they use your leadership to make a difference. Use your leadership to make a difference. I want to say to you that you must be the #1 school. And I'm already boasting that Albertown High School is the #1 school in Trelawney and in Jamaica, because I was a student there. I want to say that again. It is the #1 because I was a student there. I said, when you step in the town of Falmouth for William Nib students, when you step out in the town of Savamar, when you step out in the town of Negril, when you step out in the town of Parkstone and Albertown, you must walk out with pride, because you are a William Nib student, you are a Mushet student, you are a Petersfield student, you are Albertown student. You are, come on now, you are a student with dignity. I don't know, but you see, when I was going to high school, and sometimes when I drive through some town areas, if this is pre-COVID now, you will see some students shock up in some little corners, and some there behind some big buildings. I don't know what the building in your place is called, but in Alberta we used to call it Ken Grant Building, and in Alexandria they call it the Morris Hill Building, and in Falmouth I don't know what your building is, but I want to let you know that when you come out of your school campus on a day-to-day basis, you should not be seen hitching up behind any building as a student leader. You are the difference. When a student sees you go into a taxi and head home, they must say, I want to be like that student. I want to be like that student. I said, greatness cannot be attained when you're living a mediocre lifestyle. Can I say that again? I said, greatness cannot be attained when you're living a mediocre lifestyle. You have to make a difference. I said, transform your school, transform your classes, transform your students, transform your staff, transform your school with the power of the Holy Ghost. I charge you this morning, student leaders. I charge you this morning, school administrators. Make a difference. Put your school on the map, not for bad, but for good. Let the greatness be unleashed in you. And the greatness cannot be unleashed. It cannot be unleashed until you walk with dignity and integrity. Remember, success is not final. Wherever you are, may you continue to keep your face focused in His direction. God bless you, everybody.
Amen.
Amen, amen. Wonderful, very powerful message from Pastor Hyman. I am sure, sir, that the message was well received. You can see the appreciation coming in the chat. Persons are extending their appreciation. The message would have been well received, sir. Thank you very much for this powerful message this morning. I just want to share with you before we go into the next segment, a definition of attitude, because fitting to what Pastor Hyman would have said, you would have been called. And if you're wrapped up and entangled in the Most High, then your leadership will be a success. There's no doubt, because He is the mighty one. He is the Almighty. He is all powerful, and what He has predestined, no man can cast asunder. I must let you know that your attitude will be very impactful in your leadership. According to Cherry 2021, attitude refers to a set of emotions, beliefs, and behavior towards a particular object, person, thing, or event. Attitude is generally formed as a result of personal experiences, social factors, learning, conditioning, and observation. I must say to you, young people, the attitude you display will determine your success as a leader. Make sure that you have the right attitude, an attitude of success. As rightly said by Pastor Hyman, when you walk out, when you display yourself in public, Your attitude must be one that depicts success. You must live success. You must walk success. You must breathe success. If you walk and talk with that confidence, then nothing can stop you once God Almighty is on your side. At this time, we're going to now move into the introduction of the guest speaker. And I'm going to invite to do so for me today, Miss Tadine Pendelin from Anchovy High School, as she introduces our guest speaker at this time. Miss Pendelin, are you on and ready?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. What was asked of me this morning was to introduce. Okay, I will start my video. Are you all seeing me?
Yes, we are. Go ahead.
Yes, yes.
What was asked of me this morning was to introduce the guest speaker for today's meeting. I hope you guys are still seeing me. I am on my phone. I am truly sorry if my camera is off. Rajesh Javon Baker, an active entrepreneur and a potential accountant, is from the parish of Westmoreland. He's an enterprising young man who automatically stands out as a first-class leader and a peer motivator. First class is also the mantra that he lives by. So even in any picture that you see him, he's holding up his index finger that represents his mantra. Rajesh attended the Darliston Seventh-day Adventist Preparatory School. During his tenure there, his leadership qualities emerged from grade 1. He was outstanding and was called upon to lead the charge for his peers and other students. Upon his ascension to the Godfrey Stewart High School in the year 2014, he was class captain as early as grade 7. During the period from 2014 to 2019, he served as a peer motivator, academic ambassador, and a student council representative. In upper school, Rajesh was head prefect and was appointed responsibilities as the treasurer of the Jamaica Prefects Association Region 4, junior counsel for South Savannah Lamar, and also served as a president of the Debating and Mathematics Club. Even with the number of co-curricular activities which he participated in, he graduated as a top student in leadership, mathematics, information technology, principle of business, and principles of account. He extended his academic journey at Godfrey Stewart High School by attending the sixth form program as one of the pioneer students in the first batch of students sitting Cape at the institution. He studied business management 2019 to 2020. His community involvement includes playing cricket. He captained the Headley Cup cricket team and also played at the Grotto Lions Cricket Club. He is an active member of YELL, Young Education Leaders Lead, which is headed by the Social Development Commission, the SDC. He is an avid cricket fan, an avid debater, and an avid lifelong learner. He never backs down from a challenge and perseveres no matter what. Rajesh lives by the quote, "All good bakers know it takes several ingredients for a product to rise to the occasion." What drives him every day is Isaiah 41, verses 10. "Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Do not be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and keep you." Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please help me give a warm welcome to Rajesh Javon Baker.
All right, thank you, Ms. Pendelin. Before we take Mr. Baker's item, we're just going to take a little inspirational item from Petersfield High School. So Petersfield High School, go ahead and render your inspirational item, after which we will turn the platform over to Rajesh Baker. Petersfield High School.
So many roads right there before me. Looks enticing, but I know that's not what God wants for me. Won't go no further, unless I know He's leading me. Took 5 steps forward, but lost a step because of me. I made a decision that my life is gonna be about God. I may not be famous, cause I wanna sing righteous song. Don't worry about me, my problems won't be money. It's better to please God than having everyone bowing at my feet. So I'm bowing down on my knees. I'm begging you to help me, cause I am nobody. But when you're in my life, I feel free on my knees. Begging you to help me, cause I am nobody. But when you're in my life, I feel free. Back in the days, righteousness was thou shalt not. But now in these days, you're singing and now it's hard to stop. You've got to break through, but 3 days later, you're back. Because they didn't feed your spirit and flesh was all you got. I made a decision. I gotta lose some of my friends. Change my number. That life has come to an end. There is no more to the soul that fighting against my spirit. I'm walking away and I'm not looking back. Bow down on my knees. I'm begging you to help me. For I am nobody. But when you're in my life, I feel free on my knees. Begging you to help me. Cause I am nobody. But when you're in my life, I feel free. I feel free. Oh, I feel free. When you're in my life, Lord, I feel free. Feel free. I feel free. Oh, yeah. I feel free. Feel free. Oh, I feel free. When you're in my life, Lord, I feel free. So free. I feel free. Oh, yeah.
Wonderful rendition. Over to you, Mr. Baker.
Good morning, everyone. I hope just a moment. All right. So good morning. I am pleased to be here on this occasion to be your guest speaker to talk to you about effective leadership. Effective leadership in times of crisis. So first and foremost, I would like to come to you today with the quote, the key to successful leadership is influence and not authority. Leadership is the road to the future. And many of us today are here on this symposium. Many of us are head prefects. Many of us are class captain. It all begins right here as a leader, because moving forward to the future in this crisis, this is the time in which it is going to test us on our capabilities as leaders. I have a quote from Google Mona. It says, great leaders do not fear challenges because challenges do not break leaders, but sharpen them. I would like to have one bright student to just give me their understanding of this quote. Great leaders do not fear challenges because challenges do not break leaders, but sharpen them. Any participant who would like to share their understanding based on this?
Yes.
I will.
Okay, go ahead.
A great leader always put out his or her best to ensure that everyone around them is okay and safe. I always say that a great leader must always listen and give an understanding to each and everyone that is around he or she. I thank you.
Okay,
Could I try?
that's
Could
a
I try?
great.
We have two
Yes,
more
go
hands up,
ahead.
Mr. Baker. Let them go ahead quickly.
Okay. What I get from this is that when you say that a leader do not fear challenges and the challenges only sharpen them, what that means to me is that when you're a leader, when challenges come your way, you must not make challenges break you down. The challenges that you face after you complete them, they will give you an understanding of what will come next because you have already faced one challenge. So like now in this world, today's world, if you are in a problem, when you okay, like in today's world, when you're in a challenge, when you face that challenge, after you have passed that challenge, you would have already learned from that challenge. So you would already be prepared for something that could come next. So you would have already learned something. Thank you.
All right, we'll
All
take
right.
one more hand. I guess the one more hand, and then we'll have Mr. Baker continue so that we are still on track. All right, Jamelia Barton, go ahead and unmute and share quickly, please.
Okay, good morning, everyone. In short, what that is saying is that leaders all go through challenges and tough times and trials in making sure everyone is okay as they should, but it also helps them to learn from their mistakes, that others' mistakes would help others to learn from your mistakes, and you can learn from others' mistakes as well.
Go ahead, Mr. Baker.
Okay, all right. Great try, everyone. Because as I come to you today, I am going into my presentation as I am going to give you the knowledge to be an effective leader in times of crisis. The first thing that I would love to talk about is the skills in times of crisis. As a leader, you should be able to communicate with your team members and peers clearly, because communication is a fundamental skill in effective leadership. And as student leaders, our team members are all different, and also our peers are different. So we cannot see situation from one perspective. As leaders, we have to see many perspectives based on one situation, because in effective leadership, you have to communicate with clarity so that you can achieve your goal at the end of the day. I will go back to this scenario. If you see someone, whether for the first time or you have known the person for a while, if you don't talk to that person, you cannot really know what's going on in that person's mind. So here we see how important communication is, even in the times of crisis. Because you know, most of the time, persons are facing some challenging times. Our classmates, our team members are facing sometimes, and all they need is just someone to talk to. But as a leader, in the process of communicating with different persons, we are supposed to understand how we communicate with those persons, because persons can be faced in a bad day, whether they have lost a loved one or because of some peer pressure at home. So as leaders, we are supposed to develop the problem solving skill while intertwining it with the leadership ineffective communication, because we know that crisis is a time in which some crucial decision must be made. I heard the saying that a wise man speaks when he has something to say, and a foolish man speaks when he wants to say something. I use that to say this, that many times as leaders, we do not understand that one of the main contributors to being an effective leader is that we must make sure we listen to what person has to say and become knowledgeable of the problem before we can develop a solution. Many times we don't know the problem, yet we are trying to counsel the person. You cannot do that. As I said before, challenges may come your way, but it all depends on how you are going to deal with that challenge. Because many times, look, I have a phone card here. It is a flow phone card. Now, I am in need of a credit. If I don't go by the store to get the credit, can the credit come to my phone like that? So in a time of challenge, we are supposed to think critically and develop our solution, because the phone card itself cannot walk from the store and come to my phone. I am the one who have to get out of my comfort zone and go for that phone card so it can go on my phone so I can get what needs to be done. So communication is an effective way. When I'm talking about communication, I am not just talking about the way you talk to someone. It also deal with your body language, clarity. You need to have that courage in you to give you the strength to go on. Because sometimes as leaders, as head prefects, as peer counselors, as class captains, our students are faced with some definite challenge. Even sometimes when they are talking to you about this challenge that they are facing, you feel it within yourself. But that level of compassion, that level of composure, you have to hold yourself together to make sure that you don't help to break down that person. But in the process, you're helping to uplift that person. Most definitely, effective leadership is supported by effective communication. That is why communication plays a crucial role in the crisis. If we notice we're facing a COVID-19 pandemic, we are home, we are working from home, we're doing school from home. The social media platform is that area in which our Prime Minister and other delegates have to communicate to us with effective information. And also they have to make sure that the words they are using, the tone they are using, because we are in a pandemic. So in a pandemic, as leaders, we are to make sure that our own teammates understand what we know and what we don't know. Team leaders, we must make sure that our team is aware about what you know about the problem and what you don't know. And this will build your team's trust. It is also key to make sure that your communicating is your communication is clear and you have that courage, as I talked to you just a while ago about. As a leader, you want to make sure that you explain three things when communicating. You want to make sure you identify the problem. You want to make sure you tell them, how are we going to solve the problem? Because remember now, teamwork make the dream work. So you have to communicate with your team members, because everyone's opinion is important. You may have a decision to be made, but you are not approaching it in the correct way. But when you bring it to the table, you get the understanding and realize that your team members have some good ideas to put into that own main goal so that your vision can become a reality. Also, you need to know how urgent this must be done. So in spite of the crisis, I want you as leaders to become communication champions, because your peers can be faced with many challenges, but you have to get in their mind, and in that process, be brave and have strength and passion. So whatever you are saying to the student, you lead, you know it will leave a positive impact on their life. Communication champions. Some of the things that communication champions as student leaders would do is send a WhatsApp text to remind the student that they can still progress in a pandemic. You keep them motivated, you keep them inspired. Communication champions talk to grade coordinators and subject teachers and ask them to recommend students who need peer counseling. Because as the code said, we are faced with some challenges. And once you are a leader, you have to be prepared for challenges. I was listening to Michael Lee Trin, and he said, in the crisis, he don't see the crisis as a problem. He sees it as an opportunity. So what I want for you as communication champion is see the crisis as an opportunity to unleash your true potential. So communication champions also seek feedback from students on a weekly basis to help in alleviating some of the challenges out there that they are facing. Second point I would touch today is, as a leader, you should be able to master the art of time management. Many of us on a daily basis, we know that time is very important, but yet we have one temptation that is called procrastination. Whenever as a leader you overcome procrastination, you are on the way to achieving and to master the art of time management. Because mainly in a crisis, your time, you have to use your time wisely. I must say, in a time of crisis and overall time, time is the most valuable and scarce resource. And I would want someone, one bright student, to just tell me, how is time the most valuable and scarce resource? Katie and Corey, you can go ahead.
Good morning. So time is the most valuable and scarce resource because time is not something that you can control. We have always heard that time, if you lose time, you cannot regain it. You cannot control time. So that the only thing you can do is control the amount of time. As you said, you procrastinate. Do not waste time. It's not something you can control, but you can control how you use your time.
All right, there is one more person. You can go ahead.
Good morning. What I understand is that time is the most valuable resource you'll ever have because you can get more of it by using it like time. You can use it every single day without stopping, and it is valuable both in your career and in your overall life.
Okay, understand. Thank you very much for your participation. As I go back to saying, time is the most valuable and scarce resources. Yes, we know that there is 24 hours in one day, right? But it all depends on how we use that 24 hours. We can have 5 duties to complete within that 24 hours. But because we limit ourselves to just getting done that 5 main tasks that we have to do, because let me tell you something about time. When you have things to do, more things will come the way. But as I'm getting down into my my presentation, we are going to have a little talk on mastering the art of time management in the times of crisis. So questions you can ask yourself: what are my duties? What is the date and time given to get this done? And is this urgent? The third pointer, is this urgent? This is a main aspect of mastering your time. Sometimes as leaders in the virtual space, we procrastinate. We use social media for most of the time for the wrong purpose. So I want to urge you as leaders, in the process of mastering your time, get the most urgent things out of the way first. There is always more to be done, but make sure you prioritize. Don't use a to-do list, use a calendar. And I'm going to explain what I'm saying here. Many times as student leaders, we have a study timetable, but we are not dedicated to that study timetable. So it's best for us to look at our calendar and set a date and said, all right, Thursday at 1 o'clock, I'm going to get this done. Thursday at 1 o'clock, I'm going to spend this amount of time on what needs to be done. Because sometimes we have a to-do list. We are just away from that to-do list because, say, for instance, I'm studying mathematics. I am not in the mood for practicing some math, but I'm in the mood to get some business done. For instance, practicing some account. So based on the vibe that you're in, you are supposed to mark on your calendar what needs to be done. And also try as best as possible, as I said before, to overcome procrastination. As a leader, you must be self-driven. Most of us are head prefects as our class captain or senior and junior prefects. But let me tell you something. Self-driven is a main part of leadership. I was even listening to Steve Harvey a few days ago, and he was speaking about a lady in a restaurant. That restaurant used to sell hamburgers, but business started to decline. So it is not as usual where the hamburgers are selling on a day-to-day basis. So one of the co-workers said to the boss, I have some of the greatest pies that I bake that people love. Can I come and try the pie at your restaurant? The boss didn't say no to his employee. He didn't say no. So from that day, that lady took one pie into the restaurant. The pie was so nice that people was coming on to the store asking if they could get their own pie. And today, at this date, that store is no longer selling hamburgers, but that store is selling pie. So as a leader, you must be self-driven, not because you have head prefects, not because you have persons who are higher in authority than you. You need to let your opinion be heard. You need to be self-driven. Don't limit yourself in the space, because sometimes we are limiting ourselves in our comfort zone and we are not getting to unleash our true potential. Because as I said, and as the speaker introduced me, as all good bakers know, it takes several ingredients for a product that rises to the occasion. So a product does not just rise to the occasion and one day, but you have to go there every day and put something towards that product. So in the process of crisis, as an effective leader, let us see the crisis as the end product. Let us have our effective leadership skill. Let us be self-driven. Let's communicate as champions so that we can get to overcome the crisis. Because as leaders, we don't want to see the crisis as a challenge. We want to see the crisis as an opportunity. As a leader, you must know your purpose. And I want two bright students to tell me what is your purpose as a leader and what leadership capacity are you in?
I am also a student leader, and for a student leader, I think that I'm supposed to be a great leader and that I'm supposed to set an example to my fellow classmates and learn how to have a great attitude and lead them in the right direction and in the right way. So in the future, I can lead all kind of generations to lead them to success, because as a leader, we should be able to communicate with our peers, and we should develop problem-solving skills so that in the future we can solve any problem that comes our way. Thank you.
Okay, as a leader, all right, first off, I'm a prefect. As a leader, you should be an idol to your classmates, teachers, and parents. For example, our government, he is the leader of the country. He sets examples and laws in which citizens must comply to. So as a leader, you must not only shine, but you must be able to work under pressure. Thank you.
As a leader, I believe that we are supposed to give everyone the platform to feel comfortable voicing their concerns and knowing that those concerns will be dealt with in the most appropriate way. As a student council personnel, it is not always easy because it is the whole school looking towards you. Sorry about that. It is the whole school looking towards you to voice complaints, concerns, and every other little thing. So I believe that as a student leader, we should have people feeling comfortable, not only student personnel, but also teachers, that when we are voicing our concerns to them, they can respect what we say and we respect what they say. Thank you.
As a student leader, I should set examples for others to follow and for them to look up to me as a person of interest. And I should also take advice from some persons also.
I think in the interest of time, we can only take one more hand. So one person can go ahead.
As a student leader, I think that my purpose is to influence other students and be an example for not just students, but for teachers and for my community and for my fellow peers and everyone in my social area.
Okay, and as finishing up, and as a leader, you must know your purpose. I want to say to you as leaders, everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by the ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. And that quote is by Albert Einstein. Now, we want to have this conversation. Have you unleashed your true potential? Losers let things happen. Winners make them happen. It takes time to unleash your true potential, as you will be faced with ups and downs. But you have to remember that whenever a problem comes up, it is there to test your ability. So in the process of a challenging moment or a crisis, it is just giving you the opportunity to express your true potential. Because even in a test, The teacher has been coming to class to you every day and teaching you many different topics. But at the end of the day, you get an exam. And that exam is to show what you have learned, is to test your skill. So we don't want to see this crisis as nothing but a test to unleash our true potential. So you have to create solution as leaders and remember that no matter how challenging the situation gets, the harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. As leaders, we cannot focus on the crisis. We have to focus on a way to get out or to live with it. So we have to make sure that we are intrinsically motivated and we are self-driven. And no matter what, we keep in mind that I will not quit. I will not give up because a quitter never wins. No, a winner never quits and a quitter never wins. I was listening the other day again back to Steve Harvey, and I'm going to show you how some things can be holding us back, and we don't identify that these things are holding us back. A flea, he said, a flea can have a 36-inch vertical jump, but because the flea sees his family members crawling on the dog each day, the baby flea continues with the same mindset. So in the process of unleashing your true potential, your mindset has a lot to do. So at that, no point in time, that flea will never unleash its true potential of jumping 36-inch vertical. So therefore, I want you to see as leaders that sometimes our own circles are holding us back from unleashing our true potential. Our own friend, the very own cell phone that we have can be holding us back from unleashing your true potential. But you have to get up as a leader and said, I will not let this happen. I need this to be done, and I'm going to do this no matter what may come the way. I am not giving up because I am going to put God first in everything I'm doing, and I'm going to overcome these challenges that comes your way. I don't know if you guys listen to Popcorn, but he said, anytime you see obstacle, me kick with that, firm and strong, solid as a rock. So I want you to have that mentality. Whenever you see obstacles, use your solution to kick them away so you can be focused on unleashing your true potential by achieving your goals and vision. Therefore, I urge you as leader to take the crisis as a way to unleash your true potential. Never give up at no point in time, and always keep in mind that you have a purpose and you're supposed to achieve the purpose at the end of the day. Taurus Riley, a songwriter, said, more than a million reasons to quit, but you got to hold on. So don't matter what may come the way. You know you're not a quitter. You know you are a winner. So in the process of unleashing your true potential, you must be able to make sacrifices, be disciplined, be dedicated, be self-driven. I will leave this quote with you today. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve, by Napoleon Hill. So here now, I would just give you, I think I have about 2 minutes to go. So is there any question that you would like to ask me before I go?
How would you approach a situation in which it was already brought up and it is being brought up over and over, but it is not being, what would you say? It would not have been solved? Yes.
Okay, so in that case, first and foremost, when you are approaching a problem, you have to see things at many different perspectives. So the problem has been brought up already, and the problem has not been resolved. first thing I'm going to ask myself, I need a background check on that problem. I want to know who are the main contributors to this problem. And I also want to ask myself, how is this problem coming over and over and not being resolved? What is that one thing as a leader I am not doing that this problem cannot be resolved? So first and foremost, I'm going to take the problem in consideration. I am going to also use my eyes to see, and also in the process of using my eyes and my ears, because some problem comes up and it cannot be solved the same time. It's a process. So I would use the analogy of processing that problem first. Get a background check on the problem, process the problem, and find out what is it that I am not doing so this problem is not being solved.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is there any other questions?
If you wanted to change something, how would you go about it?
If I want to change something, how would I go about it? It all depends. Do you have any specific thing, or it is just why? And if you want to change something, how would you go about in changing it? Do you want to specify or just answer the question as broad as it is?
Say you wanted to change the uniforms, but someone is saying that the uniforms is good the way they are, but you know that you want to change his uniforms because to make a better school you have to make some changes, but you don't want to make everyone think, say, I don't listen, I just give orders. You want to listen, but also want your ideas to be heard. So how do you go about changing something when someone else wanted to say the same, but you know it's right for the school?
All right, so going about making a change, first and foremost, you have to make sure, because remember now, one person's voice can be heard to influence others. Maybe many persons want the uniform to be changed, but it just takes someone to step outside the box and really come up and communicate with others. So this is where communication comes in. Your team members as prefects, you see there is a need to change the school uniform, right? So you are going to communicate with your peers because definitely you have a problem. So you would want to also have your prefects being involved or the leaders being involved. So you will call a meeting, for instance, and you will ask them, what do you think about a uniform change? You get some ideas from them. If you see that majority of the person want a uniform change, then you can go about in get all the necessary information you need. And also you can voice your opinion, because no matter how persons as us are leaders, when someone come to us with an idea, we may not process it the same time, but that idea can come helpful at some point in time. So if you want to make a change, all you have to do is just step out sometime, because that is all what it takes sometimes. Just step out of your comfort zone and try to make the first move. Any more questions before I go?
I have a question. How would you go about counseling a child that doesn't really want to talk? Like in terms of he keeps everything to himself, like you can talk to the child, or you're talking to him and he's not responding to you.
All right. So as I talked about communication before, communication don't always deal with the talking or just the approach. You have to develop the level of problem solving skill. So remember, if you don't start to talk to that person, you won't get into that person's mind. So in the process of someone who don't want to release that information from you, maybe sometime as leaders, we cannot manage the problem, but yet we work as a team in achieving the goal of getting that problem resolved. So if you see that you are using all your leadership skills, all your communication champion skills, and cannot achieve to get something out of that person, then you refer, as someone said before, you can refer that child to the guidance counselor, because maybe they will have a different approach to it to get that information out of the person.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think that's all the questions we can take for now, Mr. Baker. Let's just have the participants just extend their appreciation in the chat. You can share emojis, extend your appreciation to Mr. Baker for his powerful message. I am sure that he had you engaged for the duration of the time he was speaking. So you can just send your applause in the chat to extend your appreciations. At this time, we're going to get some entertainment from Herbert Morrison Technical High School. Asking that the persons from Herbert Morrison that you make yourself ready to render your item at this time.
Give thanks for life. Give thanks for life. Yeah. Oh, it's my day to do anything I want to. It's my time and I'll use it any way I want to. It's my life and I'm responsible for every action. It's all mine, my day, my time, my life. Don't waste your time with thoughts of giving up. It's all in your mind. Let it go, let it go. I'm here to remind you that anything's possible. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm trying till I reach my destination, flowing like the birds and the bees. It might be hard in my head, it's a vacation, flowing like the leaves on the breeze. Spread your wings, nothing is impossible, believe. If I can do it, you can spread your wings. Nothing is impossible. If I can do it, you can spread your wings. So don't waste your time with thoughts of giving up. It's all in your mind. Let it go, let it go. I'm here to remind you that anything's possible. Yeah, 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 yeah. So me say pull up your pants and put it on your waist and tuck in your shirt and no bleach your face. Inna my days that me a meditate, so me study for the test, me no procrastinate. Early to school, me no have time for late. Sit down in a exam, am I the great? Me no get not less than 98. When school door up, me never buy the gate. So don't waste your time with thoughts of giving up. It's all in your mind. Let it go, let it go. I'm here to remind you that anything's possible. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm trying till I reach my destination, flowing like the birds and the bees. To you it might be hard in my head, it's a vacation, flowing like the leaves on the breeze. Spread your wings, spread your wings, spread your wings, spread your wings. waste your time. Spread your wings. Spread your wings. Yeah.
Excellent item from Herbert Morrison. We have to know that we cannot give up. Though times may be hard, though we may face a lot of challenges, we must persevere. We must remain vigilant. As I would have started by saying, we need purposeful leaders. We need leaders with purpose. We're now about to go into session 2 of today's activity. Session 2 will be a panel discussion, and the theme is challenges and solutions as virtual leaders. Our moderator for this segment will be Mr. Orlando Sinclair, Dean of Discipline, Albertown High School. Mr. Sinclair, I turn over to you at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sinclair.
Yes, sir, from one Sinclair to another Sinclair.
To another. Thank you so much, sir. It is my absolute pleasure to be online as we are with our student leaders in this forum as we discuss matters as it relates to leadership and student governance. Let me extend a warm welcome and a great good morning to everyone, and especially to our student leaders. We also want to extend a great good morning to our administrators who are online. Today we have a lineup of intellectual, brilliant, enthusiastic, and energetic young people who will be sharing on the topic Conversations for Success, Challenges and Solutions as Virtual Leaders. But, you know, before I ask them to come on and to show their faces and perhaps even introduce themselves, I just want us to give a shout out in the chat. And the shout out you're going to do is for your own school. So let me see the school that has the most participants on at this moment. So send in the chat the name of your school. We're giving a shout out. When I see the name of your school, I will call the name of that school as our panelists get themselves ready to share in this conversation. Let me see the schools. I see Newell, I see Albertown. Wow, I see Petersfield, Monroe, Maud McLeod, Black River, Godfrey Stewart, Louisville, Magotty, Little London, Rossies, and Rossies is my alma mater. Big up to the best school in Cornwall County, William Nib, Troy, Herbert Morrison, Holland High, Irwin High, Herbert Morrison, Green Island, Godfrey Stewart. Yes, 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 yes. I'm seeing them. Which one am I? Lacovia High. Wow, you are representing. Don't let your school get left behind. Right, I'm seeing Grange Hill High, Mushet High. Yeah, I'm seeing the schools. Absolutely. You are representing your school, and obviously you are representing very, very well. Hopewell High School. Welcome, welcome, Magotty. Welcome, welcome. And I hope I haven't missed one. Manning School is in the house. Green Pond High is in the house. Herbert Morrison, William Nib. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Continue to represent your school and to represent your school well. I'm sure your teachers and your fellow students are absolutely proud of you. As we move then into our conversation, I just want to say to you, audience, that you have the responsibility to listen in carefully. And as you listen to the conversation, you will also want to ask a few questions. And so we're asking that you will share those questions in the chat. And as soon as we get to the open discussion segment, we will definitely pose some of those questions to our panelists. Our panelists, they hail from schools within the county. We have with us this morning Miss Cadian Curry, She is coming from the Froome Technical High School in Westmoreland, and she currently serves as a student leader, where she serves as a senior prefect and also as president for the Key Club. Please make Miss Curry welcome at this time. We also have Mr. Ethan Duncan serving as head boy for Green Island High School. Mr. Duncan, welcome. I wish you would just turn on those cameras so that we can see you. We can spotlight you for others to see. We also have Miss Tiana Duncan. Miss Tiana Duncan is serving as head girl for the Mount Alvernia High School in St. James. Welcome, Miss Duncan. Miss Dinham, sorry, Miss Dinham. Let me spotlight Miss Dinham for you. There you go. Welcome, Miss Dinham. Excellent. Is Mr. Duncan there? Yes, Mr. Duncan is there. We have Ajay Clacken. Mr. Ajay Clacken, he's serving as head prefect for Monroe College in St. Elizabeth. Let's make him welcome. And of course, Jamila Johnson, head girl of Mushed High School in Trelawney. Let me allow these of our young people to show their faces. Welcome, Mr. Clacken. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Miss Curry is with us. Let me add. There you go, Miss Curry and Miss Johnson. And of course, Mr. Duncan. Yes, he's here with us. Today, our conversation will be towards success. And we're talking about challenges and solutions as virtual leaders. Our conversation, ladies and gentlemen, will begin first with an address on our topic. Each panelist will be allotted 3 minutes to share with us what it means for when we talk about challenges and solutions as virtual leaders. And they'll come in this order. Mr. Ajay Clacken, followed by Ms. Jamelia Johnson, Mr. Ethan Duncan, Miss Tiana Dinham, and Miss Kadian Curry. So please make Mr. Clacken welcome at this time as he shares on the topic, Conversations for Success, Challenges and Solutions as Virtual Leaders. Over to you, Mr. Clacken.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sinclair. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A pleasant morning to you all. Thank you. I welcome the opportunity greatly to be here to share with you all as student leaders to this morning. I'm aware we have vice principals, all categories of staff and parents with us today, and I'd like to give my own bit of welcome to this session as well. In the effort to fundamentally foster holistic development of all our students and enact that occupy their respective offices. It is therefore imperative that the principles do not founder and that success is achieved in the avenues as we as student leaders employ to reach our desired goal. Yes, indeed, there will be challenges, and these challenges may differ based on where we are. Each institution has its own unique set of challenges, and even those brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, they too have hindered leadership and hindered the world's own progress, in a sense of speaking. So indeed, we all do face challenges that we all must face, and there are hinders to our progress. The COVID-19 pandemic has impeded normality and has even shifted the existing status quo. However, all this means, future leaders, is that we need to create solutions. We need to be creative, innovative, to create those solutions that are impressively suited to our current climate. As student leaders, let not our hope be daunted by the challenges that we face. Instead, let us work to achieve those impressive and implement-worthy solutions. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely profound opening statement by Monroe College. He's representing Monroe today, so I know it's okay to say Monroe College. Mr. Ajay Clacken, thank you so much. Ms. Johnson, over to you from Mushed High.
Good morning, everyone. I want to give a warm welcome
Good
to all
morning.
persons on the symposium. Challenges of some of the challenges faced as a leader are many and varied. As a leader, people will not understand your leadership styles. You will have problems that you will have to solve. So you need to possess good problem-solving skills. And the challenges are many, as I said. In order to have a good workforce, as a leader, do not force your leadership style on people, but break down the role that they have to play in the organization, motivate your workforce, and let them feel a part of the organization. Let them know that every stakeholder is important and play a vital role in the organization. As a leader, you need to understand that your human resource is your greatest asset. At times, you need to step out of your comfort zone and get to know the people, what they are going through, especially those who are at their lowest point. Know what they are going through, especially at this time when everything is virtual and online. Are they able to come online, navigate the virtual space? Do they have the device to do so? At all times, a leader should increase his or her knowledge. It is a changing environment, so as a leader, you should develop yourself to move with the time. Leaders should educate themselves. This will help them to see ways they can improve their fellow team members. Will not only see them as a person who help, but someone with the knowledge to deal with any problem that come their way. A leader should also train their fellow team members, let them develop themselves. When you have team members that you have to tell them everything that they have to do, you as a leader will have a lot of work. But if you have a workforce that is educated and they know their job, what they will have to do, it will make your job as a leader easier. Thank you.
Wow. Again, profound, profound. As leaders, we must always seek to gain more knowledge, always sit at the feet of knowledge and try our very best to impact those our team members. Very profound, Miss Johnson. I see the chat is coming alive for you as they are done for Mr. Clacken. And I hope we can keep that kind of energy going as we welcome Mr. Duncan. I must say for Mr. Duncan that he's currently having some technical difficulties. You know, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And so if it is that he perhaps is not ready, he's trying to resolve some of those issues. We're going to move on to Miss Dinham and we'll take Miss Curry after. And I'm sure by then, Mr. Duncan will have sorted out the issues that are happening there. So let us take you, Tiana. Tiana from Mount Alvernia High School. Welcome to the space. Let us know, what are your thoughts on the topic?
Okay, thank you for having me. And good morning to everyone on this platform, teachers, prefects, head boys, head girls, forum captains. I realize that a lot of us have different and various leadership roles in our various schools. This morning, I just want to start off the conversation by using this quote. It says, "We don't grow when things are easy. We grow when we face challenges." So again, we don't grow when things are easy. We grow when we face challenges. We're living in a pandemic. It's no secret. We all know that COVID exists and we're proof that it's affecting society. But we cannot let this pandemic stop us from conducting the duties that we were assigned to, that we were elected for. We cannot say that the pandemic is not allowing us to impact our student body. We cannot say that the pandemic is allowing us to not create meaningful connections to mentor persons. We must conduct our duties. We cannot let COVID stop our show. Guys, we are facing a lot of challenges. That's no secret. We are not in physical school most of the time, and we're just in a phase approach now. But if we let persons slip by because of connectivity issues and not conduct the duties we were elected for, we are contributing to a society that persons will not live to the standards that they will need to in order to have successful and meaningful futures. My solution to all of this is that we should adapt to the environment that we're in. I heard Mr. Clacken say it, I heard Ms. Johnson say it, that we must be adaptable. Times like this, we can't just sit by on the sidelines and watch the sea get rougher and not try anything to keep the ship sailing. We must stand firm. We must adapt and progress with the times. Technology is around. We're all in different space right now, but we're all sharing this virtual platform to share our thoughts, to make meaningful inputs and to find creative solutions to some of the problems we're facing. So we must look on this pandemic as an opportunity to grow and to develop our interpersonal skills to impact our subordinates and our student body, and to keep making meaningful connections to help the greater society. Because the persons we help today are our future, and we cannot let them slip by and not help them to progress further. And that's just my little 2 cents for now.
Wow, why does 2 cents seem so expensive? Absolutely profound, Miss Dinham. Improve interpersonal skills, because those we help today are our own future. Absolutely profound. Miss Curry, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's hear it for
Yes,
your
sir.
3 minutes
Good
of opening
morning.
statement.
Good
Good
morning,
morning. Good
everyone.
morning.
Good morning to the senior prefects, the head boys. I bring you warm greetings from the Froome Technical High School. Due to the changes in interaction and communication modalities, the absence of being in physical contact with others gave rise to the use of virtual platforms and the creation of virtual leaders. As leaders, we have to adapt to this modality as we experience these challenges. In life, there will always be challenges. There will never be a life without challenges. The challenges were here before the pandemic, and the challenges will continue to be evident in our life. As leaders, we do not know the challenges we will face, but let us prepare for the changes as the narrative will be disrupted. Since the onset of the pandemic, one of the greatest challenges we face is the online learning setting. There are many things that contribute to this, such as whether it is where students or persons are located to get internet connectivity or the lack of access to devices. Another challenge is that we are not in the physical space. As students and as human beings, we're used to being in physical contact with others. We were created as social beings, and the lack of contact is not something we would have anticipated. In order to handle some of the challenges, protocols must be adhered to, whether it is the sanitizing, the vaccination, or just the 6 feet apart. Schools can have social programs. I remember back in first and second form, we were happy when we had Sports Day, Jamaica Day, and Heritage Day. So teachers, faculty advisors, principals, they can have social programs online, whether at the school level, which includes everybody, or at the grade level, to ensure that there's at least some form of interaction for the students to help them cope with this new normal. This pandemic is a crisis, but as our keynote speaker would have said, this is the opportunity for us as student leaders to make change and to, as my fellow panelists said, build our interpersonal skills. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Katie and Corey from the Froome Technical High School. In order to handle the challenges, we must adhere to the protocols. We must be disciplined. We must be obedient. And definitely, we will overcome. Thank you so much. Very profound. Mr. Duncan, I believe, is with us now. And of course, we are going to ask him to share on the topic, challenges and solutions as virtual leaders in this conversation for success. Over to you, Mr. Duncan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry about the issue
that happened earlier. But without further ado, let me. First challenge is, as we all know, is poor communication. As you'd expect, one of the biggest challenges faced by leaders virtually is miscommunication. As you can't have face-to-face communication with your virtual team, it can be difficult to convey messages. Some messages for this communication barrier are cultural differences and differences between virtual schedules. Additionally, the visual cues and gestures that you picked up on with in-person communication are missing. How does this impact your virtual team? Poor team communication can cause 3 other problems, such as high stress levels, conflict between members, and losing sight of team's purpose. But here's my solution: virtual communication guidelines. As a leader, by setting guidelines for team communication, virtual teams can boost their efficiency. These may include speaking specific working hours, setting specific working hours. Choose a few hours when everyone on your team can be online and make these mandatory. This will allow teammates with conflicting schedules to collaborate effectively and plan their work accordingly. Secondly is response time limits. Decide how long a virtual can take to respond to a message or email. This way, no query or request will go unattended too long, and teams will function smoothly. My second solution is communication tools. Although email is still a commonly used medium, it's very outdated and lacks the functionality that other communication tools offer. Virtual team communication tools are designed to make your life easier, to help you stay in touch with your team and ensure everyone's on the same page. But keep an eye out for tools with the following features: instant message and chats. It's useful for quick queries and replies. Video conferencing or conference calls help you host video meeting and group calls. Collaboration and file sharing stores all your team files in one place and help your team work on them together. Lastly, internet-based phone calls. Avoid distraction by keeping your personal cell phone away from you when working. For example, while having classes online, you either put your phone or distracting devices on silent or somewhere so that it won't disturb you. Second challenge is diminished focus and productivity. Although working remotely can be comfortable, it can also make it hard to focus. Unlike being at school, your home is full of distractions, whether it's your siblings shouting or loud music playing near your house. Many distractions can easily affect your productivity. Additionally, team members who are not used to remote work may not feel like they are truly progressing. After all, most people don't associate their home with work. But with that, here's my solution: reinforce work standards. If your virtual team is not used to telecommunicating, emphasize the fact that the standards of progress have not changed. Help them to adapt and transition to virtual work in these ways. Use clear goals and targets. This helps virtual team members visualize exactly what they have to do. As there is target in place, they have something to work towards and won't be distracted. You could use a calendar or project management tool to provide a clear picture of the team's goals. Conduct frequent check-ins and reviews. Maintain a line of communication with your virtual teams by regularly checking in on their progress. Ask them about any obstacles or difficulties they're facing and help them overcome these. Frequently interaction will motivate your virtual workers to engage with their work. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely profound by our panelists. And you see, Mr. Duncan, sometimes you see the technical challenges, they come in when greatness is about to flow. Amen. But I want to thank you so much, Mr. Duncan, for sharing so many great points. And salient of them is that we must set the guidelines as student leaders. Don't allow them to fall into place, but be a leader, assert yourself, and set the guidelines. Such a profound opening statement by each of our panelists, and I can see the audience is enjoying what you are saying so far, and they are being impacted. I just want to remind each and everyone on the platform that if you have questions, you may share them in the chat, and as soon as we get to the open discussion segment, I will pose some of them to our panelists. All right, and I also want to remind you that you are to be mindful of your mics so that they ensure they're maintained in the muted position, as we do not want any distraction from the potent, excellent discussion that we are having. Now, our panelists, they're going to share with us. They're going to share with us on some specific questions as we try our very best to even break down the topic a little bit more, to get a better understanding, a clearer understanding where we are going when we talk about challenges, when we talk about solutions, and when we talk about being virtual leaders. It is absolutely unique of you to be a set of student leaders who are leading virtually, right? And I know you can testify to some of the many unique exposure and experiences that you've had. So you're going to share for me in some very specific ways. So I'm going to ask Kadian to come at this time, and she's going to talk to us about what it means to be a virtual student leader. And I want you to listen in, because I know some of you will have some thoughts on this too. And perhaps in the chat you can share, what does it mean? Define for us what it means to be a virtual student leader. Over to you, Miss Curry.
Good morning again, everyone. What it means to be a virtual student leader is to be adaptable, responsible, and resilient. Being adaptable in this new norm is a great asset to possess. As a virtual student leader, being adaptable is remaining open and flexible in your approach, accepting that you may succeed and you may fail along the way. Responsibility as a leader involves prioritizing tasks based on importance, ensuring time is not wasted on tasks of lower importance. Because time is not something you can control, but you can control how you use your time. Virtual student leaders must have the ability to sustain their energy levels under pressure to cope with these challenges. This is important as it gives you the strength needed to process and overcome hardships.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Curry, to be a virtual student leader. What are some words? I'm going to challenge the audience now. What are the 3 words that were highlighted by Kadian? She said adaptable being one. What are the other 2 as we talk about what it means to be a virtual student leader? And as you are sharing in the chat, I'm going to invite Mr. Duncan to come, and he's going to talk to us about success. When we talk about success, what are we talking about? What are some key tenets or characteristics of being a successful student leader? So Mr. Duncan is going to analyze that for us. And I'm seeing Akila, you're saying resilient. I'm seeing someone from Rossi's, Mr. Campbell or Miss Campbell, saying responsible, right? So being responsible, resilient, and adaptable. Those are some words that Miss Curry would have used to describe virtual student leadership. So Mr. Duncan, what does it mean to be successful, or what does it mean to be when we talk about success what are some key tenets, some key characteristics of a successful student leader?
So some key tenets of a success student leader is persuasive. The best school leaders are confident communicators and storytellers. They are great persuaders and listeners, adept at describing the story of their school to any audience. They also have great motivators. Getting people to do things and go that extra mile lies at heart of good leadership. Another one is courageous. Successful school leaders show great determination with the willpower and patience to see things through. They are willing to take risks and are steadfast in challenging underperformance or poor behavior. Another one is, lastly, visionary. It's easy to dismiss the concept being a visionary as vague and woolly, but the best school leaders are visionaries with a clear sense of moral purposes. Successful leaders have great vision, the ability to formulate and shape the future rather than being shaped by events. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. Absolutely. Persuasive, courageous, visionary. Those are some key tenets of being a successful student leader. Thank you so much, Mr. Duncan. We are getting closer and closer to understand fully when we talk about challenges and solutions as virtual student leaders. Miss Dinham from Mount Alverda, you're going to share with us some general challenges that students or student leaders are facing, especially in the virtual space or in the virtual learning environment. What would be some of those general challenges you believe that students or student leaders are facing at this time?
Okay, good morning again. I think some of the challenges that we're facing as student leaders, especially using this virtual learning environment, is that we're unable to effectively communicate with the students. Because I don't know if you guys have ever been in a Zoom meeting, and when you look, it's just letters, it's just memes. You're unable to see anybody. You're unable to create an intimate environment where you can mentor persons. Sometimes I reach out to persons on WhatsApp to ask them if they're okay, to ask if I can help with anything, and they leave me unread. So sometimes it's hard to develop relationship with our subordinates, with our peers, because some persons aren't technologically literate and some persons are just not comfortable with the platform. Like some persons just don't trust technology. So it's hard to effectively communicate. Sometimes we set plans in place and then the Wi-Fi goes, then the power goes. So it's a lot of problems affecting us from effectively executing our plans. And next thing is that as student leaders, we're in charge of like discipline within our environment, within our schools, to ensure that our environments are conducive to learning. On the virtual platform, we're unable to fully do that because we don't know what persons are doing behind the screen. We don't know if they're listening, if they're disrespecting the teacher because the mic is never on, the camera is never on. So we're unable to fully understand the context in which the students are within a class, within a meeting. We're unable to control if they're actually paying attention, if they're actually participating. So those are some of the problems we're facing. So I think the biggest one is that we're unable to interact effectively. We're unable to foster that intimate environment that we would have at school to provide advice to persons, to help moderate events and stuff like that. We're unable to ensure that our peers are actually benefiting from us, that our contribution to their life is impactful. Because as student leaders, it's our duty to help mold them. But if there's no response from the other side, then we don't know if we're on the right track. Thank you.
Wow, wow, those are some of the challenges that we face as leaders, as we try our very best to impact the lives of the young people, impact the lives of our peers. It becomes a little bit more challenging with this virtual space, communication challenges, the relationship building challenges, monitoring challenges. You know, it can be daunting. It can be daunting, but thankful for a forum like this where we can have conversations towards success and how that we can identify these challenges, grab them as quick as possible, and to also identify the solutions to these challenges. And that is why I know we're going to move into talking about some approaches that we can take. And Mr. Clacken is going to share with us some of those approaches that we can take in a general sense.
How it is we can we can approach solutions, approach problem solving strategies as student leaders, as students, and see how best we can resolve some of the issues. So over to you, Ajay. You're going to talk to us about the approaches to problem solving that student leaders can take, or leaders in general can take.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Sinclair. Yes, indeed, we must identify the problems before we can even begin to postulate solutions. It is important for us to remember that our duty as student leaders, it is rooted in service to our fellow peers. And it is that fact alone, it empowers us to take on those initiatives and to advocate the different agendas for betterment on a whole. Consequently, challenges, they will arise during our tenure, and it is important for us all to have some sense of insight, some direction as how it is that we go about to navigate and approach the problem-solving process on a whole. I want to share with you some steps today as we go about solving a problem, because I mentioned before that in all institutions, problems are unique. I can speak to Monroe College. I'm sure my principal is here. My headmaster. I know he's going to be proud to say that communication at Monroe College isn't a huge problem. It is something that we've identified and we've tackled and fixed. So in each institution, I won't specify and zoom in on a particular problem, but I know to each of you, problems are there at your institutions. And I'm just going to speak in general as strategies that you as student leaders can employ in an effort to create betterment for your school cohort. The first step I want to encourage you all to do is to identify the problem. It seems a bit plain and straightforward. Yes, and I'm sure a lot of you would have expected this to be the first step, but it's not one that you can overlook. You cannot solve something that isn't a problem. It's simple, really. So the first step that we have to do is that we have to identify the issue. Secondly, we have to make sure that we understand everyone's interest. Is it that we're the only ones that see a problem where a problem doesn't exist? It's this part of the process that we start having meetings with our head prefects, with our counselors to say, I've identified this problem. What is your perspective to the issue? And when it is that we've done that, and we have met in that little meeting and that forum to discuss, we can therefore identify and list possible solutions. These are our problems. Postulate some solutions that you think. Is it that the break time needs to be longer? But we cannot just, is that the break time is too short? But we can't just lengthen the break time. How do we go about it? Do we extend school? Do we cut classes? Is that plausible to cut classes? Here, we reach the next stage where we evaluate the options. We weigh the pros and cons of the solutions that we've postulated. Is it plausible? Is it feasible? Will the school administration allow this? And when we have done this, we need to therefore move on to creating document agreements. Things that we have signed off on as a group, we need to say, okay, this is the way forward. We write, this is what we want. This is what we want to accomplish. And when we write down our agreements, we develop what is known as an action plan. This is the problem. This is the solution we're postulating. And we put that all and commemorate all of that into a beautiful action plan. I said it to my headmaster this week that he's a fan of proposals. My headmaster, anything that you're doing, you have to write it and you have to make sure it's well written, and a proposal must be put before him before he can sign off. That brings me to my next point. You should seek approval. Yes, we're student leaders, but we must always remember that we have to seek approval. We cannot just say, okay, guys, break time should be extended, so you do not go to class here. We have decided as a committee. No. It's important for us to remember that we are first and foremost students in our own right, and we are advocating for a change. We ought to seek approval from the relevant authorities to ensure that this is plausible. This is our plight, Sir Headmaster. This is our plight, Madam Headmistress. Your noble students, we have come together and we're putting together this plan, and we want to know, is it plausible, is it feasible? Can you enact this? We are in dire need of this. Help us. This is our plight. And once it is we have sought approval and approval has been granted, it's important that we now begin to execute our plan of action. We evaluate our results, and importantly, we continuously improve. And that is what separates us from any ordinary student. We are continuously improving ever progressing to reach a wonderful and better stage. When we have gotten approval, when we have sought our solution, and when we have implemented, we must always ensure that we keep our ears to the ground and always seek for betterment to ensure that we continuously improve. Employ this strategy in any format of life. And I assure you, I guarantee you, definitely, that success will be yours. Thank you.
Wow. That alone, I would have created an action plan, Mr. Ajay, just by listening. And so as I add the spotlight back onto your fellow panelists, audience, I'm going to challenge you. You are going to have to share with me those steps that Mr. Clacken would have shared with us, how it is that we can generally approach solutions or problem solving strategies. I wrote down some stuff. I don't know if you were writing, and I hope and trust that you were, because as student leaders, we want to be better than we were. And so we want to ensure that we maintain our knowledge base, as was said earlier by Miss Curry, that we must always try to learn, always try to develop. You know, I have some stuff. The first one was, okay, I'm seeing in the chat. Let me run to the chat quickly. Mr. Clacken, you need to take out your red pen and you need to start mark the book, sir, because the approach, I believe, was well received. So let me see what's happening here in the chat. It's so exciting. So, wow, the chat is blowing up. I can't even get a chance to read. Wow. All right. It's coming. So from Leandra Rose, identify the problem, understand the interest, make action plan, seek approval. Are they right, Mr. Ajay? Identify the issues by Brianna Beckford. You must identify the issues. Of course, that's true.
That is correct. They're most impressive students, Sir Sinclair. They're learning.
Yes, they're running. Identify the problem, identify the issue. Put an action plan out there, evaluate the solutions. I believe that was an excellent one. You must evaluate, understand the problem. Make sure you understand everyone else's interests. Advocate on the problem, make an action plan. So they are listening, they are gaining. And guess what? Seek approval. Leilani Thomas, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Seek approval and receive it and identify the problem. They were listening. And I believe we can get greatness out of this. Thank you so much, Mr. Clacken, for sharing with us some general approaches that we can take as it relates to problem solving as student leaders. And I hope and trust that we've noted all of this. For those who weren't listening, now is the time to run in and start to listen properly, actively, and take note of some of the things that are written in the chat, because it's a form of recap and we're all learning. Miss Johnson, you're going to share with us now in respect of student leaders and student leadership success. What kind of support do you think you would need, you know, as a student leader, as a prefect, as a counselor, as a form captain, as a head girl, as a head boy? What kind of support would you need, would you expect, and from whom? Share with us, Miss Johnson, where you would take this discussion.
All right. As a student leader, the kind of support that I expect is informational support. So I expect it to be provided with all the information needed to carry out my role. I will take advice from my dean of discipline, my principal, and my fellow students as well, because the student is a critical part of my role as a student leader. I also need to listen to the students and get their suggestions. I also expect to get emotional as well as instrumental support. Emotional support in that I want the students to trust and believe in me, that I love and care for them. Instrumental support in that I need the tangible aid that I need to carry out my job as a student leader. As a student leader, I expect to be supported by all category of staff at my school as I seek to widen my knowledge on the area of leadership, knowing very well that I will make mistakes, and as a leader, the challenges are many. However, I will learn from these mistakes and improve my knowledge to become a better leader and person as well. I expect to get support from my fellow student leaders, the student body at my school, my teachers, principal, and the other categories of staff. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Miss Johnson. Success, success, success. And I'm seeing Taffy and Carr saying that Rosies, everybody's, let me see if I'm reading that correctly, everybody's opinion or suggestion counts. Is that what it is saying there in the chat? All right, that's a good way to go. You value people's opinion. Thank you so much, Miss Johnson. What an awesome, awesome, awesome panel. Aren't they doing excellently? If you think your school is doing excellently, make some nice for your school, no? Send some fire, send some emoji, some excitement in the chat. Make them feel good. Make them feel good. Yes, man. Make them feel good, man. They're doing so well. A bright set of young people, and the future is indeed sure and indeed bright. As I add all of them back to the spotlight, we're heading, ladies and gentlemen, into our open discussion. And you know, they have been doing such an excellent job that I don't even think we have any questions. Yeah. But if you do have any questions, we are running short on time. And I'm going to ask you to just quickly share in. I see that the fires coming in, and some schools are sending in to say that though my school is not represented on the panel per se, all of you come together, represent all of us. So I'm seeing the fanfare is going on for you guys. Feel good about yourselves because you're doing an excellent, excellent job. Are there any questions? We will take the questions now for the open discussion. Quickly send those in the chat. But if we don't have any, I just want to ask one quickly. Okay, Praise Campbell would have raised hand, and I'm going to allow this person to unmute themselves
Good morning.
Go ahead, please.
When you have students who are their connections are bad, please give me a minute. There's a data passing. Yes. So when you have persons who their connections are really bad, they don't have a device for themselves, because there are some persons at Received now who it's their parents' devices they're using. How do you suggest we reach them? I was thinking that if it is now face-to-face for some schools for a short period of time, if we could at least have a forum wherein we seek to find out where those students are, because there are students who, just like Miss Faval, our Ministry of Education, she said that there are some persons right now who they have fallen off the grid. How do you bring forth those students? How do you find them? Because there are numbers on the school systems that you're not getting for them. There are numbers for parents that you're not getting for them. So I'm asking, how does one, or how do a set of school leaders or school personnel search for those students and bring them back into the school setting?
Very good question, Campbell. How do we find, as student leaders, how do you find those students who have not been connecting so far during this online school environment? The question is open to you. Any one of you can respond at this time.
Good morning again. As students leaders, What I think we can do for me in my community, I know there's a lot of students that are currently not attending school. It's either they don't have devices, internet connection, or because of the situation, they're just not interested. What I have seen other student leaders do and what we are currently doing is asking our guidance counselors and our what you call those persons again, for the persons that know about the persons who are not coming in, we try to reach out to them, we try to call them. Many of the time we don't get through to them. We know of their locations, we ask guidance counselors and teachers to accompany us to those locations. We try to speak with the persons, hear what their problems are, and see what we as student leaders and as the schools can do. Many students have received tablets, many students have received other devices which aid them in helping. So many of the times, it is just that they want us to reach out to them, to speak to them, to see what their issues are.
Thank you.
Yeah, 1 second. Just to add something to what Miss Curry said. If it's a device problem, we can always just talk to administration and work with some of the government organizations to actually get some device, some little tablets or some laptops to those students who have device issues. If it's connectivity issues, then our guidance counselors, they tend to provide like monthly data plans for them, like those educational plans from Digicel and stuff like that. But if it's a case that we can't find them and the numbers aren't working and we've entered their communities, search for them and we can't find them, then that's a very good question to ask. Because I've known about persons, well, I know about persons who the guidance counselor has gone to their communities and they can't find the students and the parents are not working with us to actually integrate them back into the school to get them learning again, because a lot of them took this opportunity because they're not at school to just give up on educational journey. So I think Miss Praise Campbell, that was.
It indeed was. And I thank you for offering some solutions to the issue, even highlighting the fact that it will take a multiplicity approach to treating with this one. Quickly, I'm going to take Tafian Carr, who has a question at this time. And I'm so sorry, guys. We won't be able to take any other as the time is really, really against us. Over to you, Ms. Carr.
Good evening, everyone representing Northeast High School. My question is, what can we student leaders do to like convince not really the students but the parents overall? Well, maybe it may not be our job to go forth to the parents, but in some cases, the parents mostly listen to the children than listening to the teachers or the school. And in the case that we are in an online forum where to go back face to face, they are hearing about vaccinations and all that stuff. In some cases, I have talked to some parents who said that they're not sending back their child to school because they don't want their child to take any vaccine, or they're not sending back their child to school because the government is implementing that they cannot graduate from grade 11. They have to do sixth form in some cases. How can the council bodies, any president bodies, how can we reach out like to the parents, not only to the children? Because in most cases, as I said, the children are not really the guilty party. In some cases, the parents just do not want to put their child in this forum. Thank you.
Well, that is an interesting question. Usually I'll make my answer, I'll try to make my answer a bit brief as possible. Usually that is the administration's duty to really get to the parents, but I do believe it's an excellent idea for the students to tackle from a student perspective. It shows initiative to tackle it to the parents. A suggestion, parents will have their varied decisions or varied perspectives as it regards to sixth form pathways program or even the vaccination mandate. However, we cannot really force anybody to do anything as regards to getting anybody to school, or parents, we cannot force them to change their minds. However, we can do what is in the better good, as to have sensitization sessions. Say, look, parents, this is the situation. This is what exists. You and I, we can only advocate for, but this is what exists for the time being. And if we do not work with the program, your child may operate at a deficit. And as student leaders, as I said, this is the path that we can take. Just sensitization to the parents, show them what is on the table. This is what is, and this is what we have to work with for now. If not, it could prove detrimental to your child. And that is the last.
Such a good note to end on. Such a good note to end on. Thank you so much, Mr. Clacken. Thank you, Ms. Curry and Ms. Dinham, for fielding those questions. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what is good about the virtual space is that many things can happen at once. As time is against us, I'm going to ask that if you have any other questions, you share them in the chat, and I'm going to ask the panel, the members of the panel, to read the chat for us and try to see if you can respond to some of those questions in the chat while we move on to the other segment of today's symposium. Thank you so much for participating. And as we close this discussion, I am going to ask the members of the panel 1 minute each, or can we do it 30 seconds? I'm sure you don't mind. It's 30 seconds each to give their closing remarks on our topic, Conversations for Success, Challenges and Solutions as Virtual Leaders. Ms. Johnson, followed by Mr. Clacken, followed by Ms. Dinham, followed by Mr. Duncan, and then Ms. Corey. Over to you.
As students leaders, we will always have challenges, but with every challenge, there is always a solution.
Excellent. Over to you, Ajay.
Thank you. As student leaders, let not our hopes be daunted by the challenges that we face. These conversations, they're geared towards our success. I hope you all would have listened attentively, because we are poised to be the future leaders of tomorrow, the engineers for tomorrow's betterment. Take note of all the points made here today and enact them with vim, vigor, and vitality. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and all the best.
Excellent. Tiana.
Okay, good morning again, guys. I just want to leave with a quote because I'm a quote person. It says that smooth seas don't make skillful sailors. So guys, implement the stuff that we've talked about, and I'm sure that we'll start to see some results as we continue to overcome these challenges and to get the success that we deserve for our efforts on this platform.
Wow, wow, it's getting even more spicy. Mr. Duncan.
Yes, so every decision you make won't result in success. There will be times when you are met with failure. Enduring setbacks while maintaining the ability to show others the way to go forward is a true test of leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Curry.
In closing, as resilient virtual leaders, let us tap into our strength and support systems to overcome challenges and to work through problems. All failure is failure to adapt. All success is successful adaptation. Believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacles. I thank you.
APVP Cornwall County, they have made us proud. Who are they? Kadian Curry, Ethan Duncan, Tiana Dinham, Ajay Clacken, and Jamila Johnson from the county, from our high school, present-day student leaders, and they led us in an absolutely profound discussion. It was my pleasure to have led this session, and I now turn over to the moderator for the symposium, Mr. Dane Sinclair.
Thank you, Mr. Orlando Sinclair. I am in a state of profound joy to to see that the future of Jamaica is in good hands. I am elated. I am excited to see that we have such brilliant young minds. I eagerly await to see what impact they will have on our great nation. As I sat and I listened to the responses, I couldn't believe that these responses were coming from young people, that they were coming from students. One would believe that we have scholars, that persons who would have gone through doctoral programs, the level of response, the professionalism, the scholarly nature of those responses. I am in awe. I am in awe. Commendations to the panel, commendations to you, Mr. Sinclair, and the panel for a wonderful discussion. I am truly and utterly in awe. At this time, we're going to take a dance from Godfrey Stewart High. We're going to invite Godfrey Stewart High to do their dance at this time. Are we ready for the item from Godfrey Stewart High School?
We are. You know, anything that can go wrong will always go wrong.
Yes, yes, yes. That is one of the challenges with the virtual space.
Yes.
There's a number of hiccups and we have to plan for them.
Absolutely. There we go.
I'm not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, freedom what your broken hearts. I need to be ashamed of what I start. And wait, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break down the dust. I know that there's a place for us. For we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send blood, wanna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. I'm gonna stand up, I'm gonna drown out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant
Item from Godfrey Stewart High School doing their dance. Go ahead and just send your appreciations in the chat by your emojis. Without further ado, we're going to move into session 3. We're going to ask Miss Tiana Simmet to introduce our guest speaker. Miss Simmet is from Magati High School. Please step forward at this time, Miss Simmet, and do the introduction of our guest speaker for session 3.
Good morning, everyone. I am here to introduce the guest speaker, Mr. Johnson. Andre Johnson is an assistant public defender with the Knox County Community Law Office in Knoxville, Tennessee. He hails from the rural community of Decoy St. Mary in Jamaica. During his childhood, Andre's mother instilled in him that education is the passport to a better and brighter future. And he internalizes advice by paying keen attention to his academic career from stages of primary school tutelage through university tenure. After graduating from Giles Hill Primary, Andre attended the Charlemont High School in Linstead, St. Catherine. At Charlemont, he did not only excel academically, but also demonstrated strong leadership skills in the mentorship of students at the lower farms, serving the student body through activism as a student councillor, prefect, and deputy head boy. Andre's humanitarian efforts are furthermore reflected in his role as National Youth President of the Jamaica Red Cross Society, where he led social awareness project on the human immunodeficiency virus and efforts of destigmatization, implemented educational programs on youth sexual health, and organized workshops that educated both young and adult populations on disaster preparedness and administration of cardiopulmonary resuscitation and first aid. In 2006, Andre was selected to represent the Caribbean and South America as Champman Holcomb International Youth Intern to San Francisco Bay Area Red Cross in California, USA. Through his work and leadership as National Youth President of Jamaica Red Cross Society, he exemplified integrity, competence, and empathy to his members and persons whom he served. These qualities remain with Andre today as he continues to serve indigent defendants in Knox County, Tennessee. Andre graduated in 2006 as co-valedictorian of the Charlemont High School and subsequently added the University of the West Indies, Mona, pursuing a double major in history and linguistics. While at UM Mona, he received the Ilm Al-Ashan Prize for outstanding academic performance in history and of Asian world, history of modern China, and history of Japan, Meiji to present. In 2010, at the annual UA Mona Sports Award function, he was awarded the Director of Sports Award for Most Outstanding Contribution to the Development of Sports at UA Mona. Andre believes firmly in pursuing scholastic goals and ambitions. In 2012, a year after his undergraduate departure, he commenced the Bachelor of Law program at the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill in Barbados. After earning a Bachelor's of Law from the UWI Cave Hill, Andre worked at the Convent of Mercy Academy, Alpha, where he taught law and history. Andre loved his students and relished the opportunity of being able to mold and develop young minds. In 2016, Andre enrolled at the Maurice A. Dean School of Law at Hofstra University, Long Island, New York, where he pursued a Master of Law degree. After completing the LLM, he was offered a scholarship to pursue an accelerated Doctor of Jurisprudence degree, and he subsequently completed the Doctor of Jurisprudence in May 2019. While at Hofstra, he competed in an annual intramural mock trial competition and placed second from a total of 108 students. He also received several distinguished internships, notably with the Nassau County District Attorney's Office, where he was specially recruited to work in the Special Operations, Narcotics, and Gangs units. Andre also interned with the Nassau County Legal Aid Society. In 2018, Andre applied and obtain a prestigious position of Gideon's Promise Fellow. To earn this position, he competed against Hofstra law students and applicants from other law schools, most of whom were ranked within the top 25 law schools in the United States. Despite this intense competition, Andre received an offer to be a Gideon's Promise Fellow from the Knox County Public Defender Community Law Office, a position he most cherishes. Knoxville was just one of the several offices that failed to get Andre to join them. Without further ado, we welcome our speaker, Mr. Johnson. Feel free to make an applause for him.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry you had to listen to that long introduction. It's my pleasure to be here this morning to speak with you guys. I always enjoy speaking with young people. I really believe that you are the future and you all have a pivotal position to play in improving and making our society better. So I want to thank you for reading that introduction. Today, I want to talk to you a little on the topic of empowered for leadership, positioning students to positively impact. When I was asked to give this talk, I struggled with coming up with a concept of what I wanted to say. I wanted to ensure that you leave this session feeling motivated and encouraged, but I myself was a teenager in the not so distant past, believe it or not, and I did not like being preached to. So today, I make a commitment to you that I will not be preachy. I believe that the best approach to this topic is to talk about my own experience as a student leader. Now, I don't like talking about myself, but I believe that after sharing my story, you will leave this session feeling motivated, empowered, and encouraged to become a catalyst of change and a beacon of inspiration. All throughout my academic journey, starting from primary school through to high school, I had leadership positions. At Charlemont, I was captain of the track team, president of the Red Cross Society, president of the Writers Club, captain of the debating team, prefect, and deputy head boy for 2 consecutive years. I thought that my job as a prefect was to be the police of the school rules. I was stringent, rigorous, strict, and overly stern. It is safe to say I was the most disliked person on the prefect body. In fact, I was the most disliked student in the school. Students would run when I walked the corridor. It was not uncommon to hear students say, "The deputy head boy is coming," and everyone would scatter. At first, I thought that I was doing my job. I thought I was an excellent leader. But then it dawned on me, what exactly is going to be your legacy when you leave this school? What impact would you have created when you walk outside the walls of Charlemont High School? That you were the strictest prefect, the most disliked prefect? What contributions would you have made to the lives of the students that you were placed in charge of leading? I pondered on this thought for a very long time, and I was bothered because I realized that the student feared me, but fear is not synonymous with respect. So I did some soul searching, and I decided that I wanted to become a better leader. I realized that in order to create the impact and the change that I wanted to see in my school and in my society, I had to improve my leadership skills. I had to become a servant leader. Who is a servant leader? A servant leader is a person who serves first. Servant leadership begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve. This conscious choice to serve brings one to aspire to lead. The servant leader is sharply different from the person who is just a leader. A person who is leader first has an appetite to use his power, but does not possess the appetite to serve. A servant leader focuses primarily on the growth and well-being of the people and the community to which they belong, while traditional leadership generally involves the accumulation and exercise of power by the person at the top of the pyramid. Servant leadership is different. The servant leader shares power, put the needs of others first, and helps people develop and perform as highly as possible. So I had to change. I had to change my leadership style because I didn't want the students at my school to fear me. I want them to respect me. I want us to grow as a family. I wanted to see change. Once I changed my leadership style, I started to see things differently. I quickly realized that I had an opportunity to become a catalyst of change, that I was uniquely positioned to use my voice to advocate for others. I still maintained a focus on discipline, but I became more concerned about the individual rather than the school rules. So I started talking to the students. I started learning about them. I started learning about their needs. I became their friend, their confidant, their role model, their mentor, their advocate. I made myself available to assist with assignments, SBAs, IAs. Students started coming to me to talk about problems they were having at home. Students who thought that I was stuck up and unapproachable were now coming to ask me if I could assist with their schoolwork or if I could become their mentors. I realized that my job was to be their advocate. And so I would advocate for these students in front of teachers. I would advocate when they would get into trouble and they were in front of the dean of discipline, when their parents had to come into school. When I was there was a particular gang in the school, and I use the word gang loosely, so I put it in quotation. And one particular day, there was this big fight at the school. And the school decided that they were going to suspend 3 boys. And these were 3 young men that I've been working with. And I remember walking into that meeting and standing there and advocating for them, telling the school that they needed to find alternate methods of dealing with the indiscipline, that suspending the student would not solve the issue that was being faced by the school. The issue of indiscipline, they needed to find an alternate method of dealing with it. If you had asked me a year prior, I would have been the one arguing and advocating for them to be suspended. You know, in Jamaica, we have the saying that says, the power get to your head. And that's exactly what happened to me before I changed my leadership style. When I changed my leadership style, I realized that I was no different from most of the students that I came in contact with. Like them, I too was raised in a world that I did not quite understand. I was systematically placed in a socioeconomic class that obstructed opportunities to achieve upward mobility. I endured institutional and persistent discrimination. When I was selected as deputy head boy, there were teachers who thought that I was not deserving of the position. You see, I grew up in a poor family. My very first day at Charlemont, I wore the same pair of uniform that I had from when I was in grade 5 in primary school. While going to Charlemont, I was not able to, my very first day at school, my mother gave me $100. I had to pay $80 for my taxi fare. So that means I had $20 for lunch. For a period of time, I remember going to the guidance counselor to get lunch. And at one particular time, the guidance counselor said to me, your mother has to come to the school to sign up a piece of form to say that, you know, you're poor and you can't afford lunch. My mother was pregnant with her 6th child at that time. She did not have the money to pay the taxi fare to come to Linstead, which was 3 taxis away from where I lived. So I continued taking lunch from the tuck shop, and I would write my name in a book to say that I took lunch. I did not have the permission of the guidance counselor to do that. So one day, I'm in first form. So I'm sitting in my class one day, and the guidance counselor walks upstairs, and he walks to my class, and he calls out my name, and everyone is looking at me, and he takes me down to the tuck shop, and he embarrassed me. He said, "How dare you take lunch when you did not get permission to, how dare you take lunch when you did not get permission to do so?" The only thing I would take for lunch was I would take a butter kiss biscuit. You're all too young to know what that is. And I would take a small box drink. Looking back at my leadership style then when I became deputy head boy and the things that teachers would say made me realize that I was doing to the students that I was selected to serve the very same thing that teachers did to me. I was persecuting them instead of speaking up for them and instead of advocating for them. So once I changed my leadership style, I started to have a different view of things. I realized that I could do so much more. Not only did my relationship with the student body change, but I started getting more opportunities to lead. As a result, I was elected as the first national youth president of the Jamaica Red Cross. At the Red Cross, I used my voice to advocate for indigent and marginalized individuals, persons who would have been affected by the HIV/AIDS virus. Even though these individuals came from different socioeconomic backgrounds, the Red Cross opened my eyes to the plight of individuals who were shunned, stigmatized, and abused by their families and community because they were HIV positive, physically disabled, or had a mental illness. The stories were gut-wrenching. It immediately dawned on me that I needed to use my platform to advocate for these individuals. To commence my activism, my team, made up of 15-year-old and 16-year-old young men from across Jamaica, and I developed and implemented a social awareness project on the HIV virus. We conducted workshops and seminars on destigmatization and sensitization awareness of the virus. We also implemented educational programs about safe sex practices. These programs educated community members about the epidemiology of HIV/AIDS. Once you become a servant leader, the focus is no longer on power. Your focus is now on empowerment. It's now on improving your society. It's now improving your community. It's about giving others the vehicle to access the resources that they're often denied. When you come from impoverished background, like I do, oftentimes when you get these opportunities, you're not equipped to deal with them because no one trained you, no one told you how it is that you're supposed to handle these things. And so for me, when I became head boy, or when I became a deputy head boy, when I became a prefect, I had no leadership training, no leadership skills, no mentoring, no guidance. And so I just thought that my job was to ensure that the school rules were observed and that students were not breaking the school rule. But as soon as I started doing my own research, as soon as I started changing my leadership style, as soon as I started becoming more aware of what I needed to do to empower my community and to empower those around me, I realized that I started having a different relationship with the student body. And I started getting different opportunities. As a result of my work with the Red Cross, I was selected to go to America. This was my very first time traveling outside of Jamaica, where I went to San Francisco as an international youth intern. So I was selected to represent Jamaica and Latin America as the only intern from this region. Now, here's the thing. I never thought that that opportunity would be presented to me. As I said, I grew up poor, I grew up impoverished. But when you realize that you have a talent and you have certain skill sets and you can use them to advance the welfare of those around you, opportunities will present themselves. So today, I want to encourage you to become the catalyst of change. What or who is a catalyst? The Cambridge Dictionary says a catalyst is an event or person that causes change. So simply put, you are a change agent. Being a student leader is more than being the president of the 4-H club or the captain of the quiz team or the prefect or the deputy head boy or the deputy head girl. A student leader builds confidence within his or her constituents. A student leader motivates. A student leader speaks for the voiceless and the disenfranchised. The student leader is an agent of change. And you say, Mr. Johnson, you're saying all that. How can we do that? It's very simple. There are things that you can do within your respective schools to pull up those around you who need pulling up, those who are falling down, those who don't have the same opportunities like you. So you know there are students who are struggling academically. Start a homework program at your school to help them. Help students with their SBAs. Start a mentorship group, whether it's a mentorship group for young boys or a mentorship group for young ladies at your school. Just sit down and talk to them. Find out what is going on with them. Get to understand life from their perspective, because we all don't see things through the same lens. We are all from different backgrounds. We have different circumstances. We grow up differently. Don't use your experience to judge the next person sitting to you. As a student leader, it is your job to ensure that the people that you're putting charge of, the people you're putting charge of serving, that they feel connected to you. This not only is your job for your school in creating change for your school, but your job is also about creating change for the wider Jamaican society at large. Your power and your leadership extends outside the school. The Jamaican society is in need of change agents. You live in a society where crime and violence is running rampant, a society that degrades women, encourage hypermasculinity, and kill children. For too long, the youth and young people of Jamaica have remained silent. Jamaica belongs to you. Use your voice to advocate for change. If you look at many modern society, when revolutions or revolts started, it was the young people in those societies that orchestrated those changes. I'm not telling you to go and revolt. I'm not telling you to go and burn down buildings. What I'm telling you to do is to use the resources that you have to orchestrate for change. And you say, what are these resources? The smartphones that you all have. Use them. When you go on Instagram, when you go on Twitter, when you go on Facebook, when you go on your social media platform, talk about the issues, make them topical. Write a letter to the editor. Write a poem about the crime. Write a song. Activism doesn't have to be you holding up a placard on the roadside. You have resources at your disposal that you can use to influence and to motivate and to encourage and to inspire and to be the spark of change that your society is in need of. Ask yourself, and you may say, why me? But think about it. If our forefathers asked themselves that question, probably today we'd still be in chains, working on plantations and not being able to make our own decisions. Somebody had to start the revolution. And why not you? You're brilliant, you're young, you're vibrant, you're talented, you're smart. You have the power to do anything that you want to do. So as a student leader, I'm going to encourage you to inspire others. A leader inspires their team with enthusiasm and passion. They make people feel valued by investing time and learning about their priorities, their strengths, their weakness, their purpose, and their needs. A student leader or a good leader recognizes the value of hard work and encourages the people around them to exercise their potential through meaningful challenges and goals. People will listen to you, people will feel energized in your presence, and people will want to learn from you. Secondly, I'm going to encourage you to recognize success. A leader is positive and recognizes the achievement of their team and the persons around them. Leaders know how to develop and effectively use their talents and skills and and skills of work, people around you will feel appreciated and empowered, and this will ultimately lead to productivity and engagement. You need to demonstrate integrity. The way you hold yourself out to others is very important. Become a man or a woman of your word. What you say is valuable. The only thing you have at most time is your word. And so people are supposed to be able to depend on your word. So a leader is going to work and live their values. They're respected for being consistent, ethical, and genuine. You're going to model impeccable behavior. The people you're leading, your students, your fellow classmates, your teachers should be able to trust you, and they're supposed to be inspired to follow your lead. Leaders should expect more of themselves than their team. You take ownership and pride in your work, and those principles are communicated to the persons with whom you're working. Ensure that you communicate decisively. Make decisions. Don't be afraid of making decisions. And sometimes you will have to make difficult decisions. And nothing is wrong with that. If your aim is to appease everyone and to be a friend with everyone, then you're going to fail. Sometimes as a leader, you have to stand up and you have to say, this is the path we are going. You're not going to be draconian. You're not being autocratic. You're just saying, hey, this is the direction. You're going to be confident. You're going to grab opportunities, and you're going to earn the respect of the persons you're working with. You're going to communicate concisely, tactfully, and clearly. You're going to set goals and deadlines, and you're going to inspire and energize the persons around you to achieve these goals. You're also going to share the vision, guys. Don't keep it to yourself, and then when you turn up to your prefect meetings or your club meeting, you say, oh, this is what we're going to do. You have an executive, work with them, share the goal, see the future, and then show them the future, tell them what your plans are, show them how you want to get there. Articulate your vision passionately and clearly. When you do all these things, you are cultivating the assets needed to be a successful student leader. I want you to look at history, and history tells us a lot. If you look at the different eras, you will find that young people have always been the catalyst. Young people or students were always the link in a decade-long chain of youth activism. They were at the forefront of social change across the globe and across the world. Let's talk about the civil rights movement for a moment. Young people were instrumental in the civil rights movement. In the most memorable moments, it was young people who were at the front of those movements. And they were not just engaged behind the scenes, but they helped to desegregate schools in the South where I work. They challenged racism during freedom rights, and they pushed forward for voters' rights and civil rights legislation. Young people decided that they wanted a better society. They wanted a society where the color of their skin did not dictate their future. And so what did they do? They decided that they were going to use their resources to orchestrate and demand a better society. And you say, well, I wasn't alive during the civil rights movement, so I can't talk about it. I don't know what you're talking about, and I can't appreciate that. Let's talk about Arab Springs, for example. And if you're doing history, you will be familiar with this. A lot of the social awareness that happened a lot of young people use Twitter and Facebook to organize an unprecedented revolution that started in Tunisia and spread to Egypt, Libya, Yemen, Syria. So what I'm saying to you, student leaders, is that you have the tools to orchestrate for change. You have the tools to orchestrate for a better Jamaica, to orchestrate for a better school, to orchestrate for a better education system. You don't have to take what is given to you. If you believe that you deserve more, fight for it. Don't let anybody tell you that it is acceptable because that's the way it has always been. Question things. I know the Jamaican society has an idea that if you're questioning things, then you're being rude or you're indisciplined. But you have the right to question things. You have the right to question decisions. Use your voice. Use the tools to create social awareness, to create change, to be bold, to be change agents in our society. I'm going to tell you one final story, and then I'm going to wrap this up. In 2006, I graduated from Charlemont, fifth form, and I was selected as co-valedictorian. And again, remember I told you I grew up poor, but I did very well in school academically. I also, I'm talented when it comes to sports and whatever. So I ran, played basketball, you name it. But there was one particular teacher at my school who believed that I should not be named valedictorian. And that teacher had a son at my school, and that teacher believed that her son should be the valedictorian. So it was the day before graduation, and that teacher walked down to her graduation practice, and she demanded that I should read my valedictory address, and that her son would read his speech, and then the student body should decide who would be valedictorian. Now, the way valedictorian was selected at my school was, they had a list of criteria, they go through the criteria, you're selected, whatever, you have to go do an interview. I did the entire process and I was selected. Her son did not. I stood up in that meeting and I respectfully said, for me, being valedictorian is not the be all and the end all of my education. I don't have to do it, but because I was selected to do it by the body that was put in place, I'm going to do it. But I'm not going to read my speech today, because if I read it today, then there's nothing for the student body to tomorrow. So fast to my decision that I'm not going to read my speech. The student body decided that, listen, he's the person that was selected as valedictorian. We don't want to hear his speech today. We want to hear it on graduation day. And he's the person we want to be our valedictorian. And they backed me. They stood with me. The point of the story is to say to you that oftentimes you'll be placed in positions where the entire world, or persons who have more power than you, have more authority than you, may try to push you into a corner and to tell you to remain silent and try to dim your lights. But don't let anybody take away your light. Don't let anybody prevent you from doing what it is that you are ordained to do. Again, you are all talented young people. You're all gifted. You have the ability to lead and to be a catalyst of change and to be the change agent at your school and by extension, the Jamaican society. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, it's you guys who are going to be member of parliaments. You guys who are going to be maybe prime minister, deputy prime minister, minister of education, minister of national security. It's you guys who will be the presidents of banks. It's you guys who will be farmers. It's you guys who will be running our society. And so you cannot continue to go the way my parents went. You can't continue to follow the tradition that my generation is doing. You have to create your own stamp of approval, and you have to create your own lane and your own avenue, and you have to create the change. And it may seem like a lot to place on you, but this is your society. You're coming next. And so from now, you have to start to be that catalyst of change so that we can see the improvement and the development in our country and in our society that we all want to see. So finally, I'll leave with you this quote that someone shared it with me when I was in high school. It says, "You have to be confident in your abilities, then be tough enough to follow through." What does that mean? Believe in yourself, work hard, because belief by itself without hard work will not get you to the destination. Belief by itself will not give you success. You have to work hard. Today, I stand in this office as an assistant public defender, and it's because I worked extremely hard. I did not have the, I had to do more work than necessary, than some people had to do to get here. Today, I'm the only Black male that works in this office. I am one of 3 Black male attorneys in the entire county of Knoxville. But I am here because of hard work and because of the fact that I believed in myself and because I pushed the boundaries and the envelopes, and I decided that society would not dictate what would become of me. I was not going to be a statistics. Society said I was supposed to fail. I'm the product of a single mother, a father who did not care about me, and society said, hey, you're supposed to fail. But guess what, guys? You can rewrite the book. You can rewrite the story. You can make a difference once you couple hard work with belief and integrity. And if you employ those traits and you use those skills, you'll be successful leaders, but you will also become successful persons. And whatever you do, you will always reap success. Now, success has different meaning for different people, and success won't come at the same time as everyone else. But if you stick to it, and if you pursue your goals with the belief that hard work, integrity, and dedication can get you to that place, you will eventually get there. So thank you very much for extending this invitation to me. I hope you feel empowered. I hope you feel inspired to go and be change agents and to be that catalyst of change at your school, in your communities, and by extension, the wider Jamaican society. If you're ever in Knoxville or in the United States and you want to reach out to me, my email is ajohnson, that's A as in Apple, JOHNSON, at P as in Peter, D as in David, Knox, that's KNOX.org. Feel free to reach out to me if you ever want, if you feel like you want to pursue law and you want somebody to walk you through what it is. Again, my email is always open. Thank you very much.
Sir, could you please say over your email address or type it in the chat?
And you don't have to call me sir, you can call me Andre. Andre is fine. I will type it in the chat if I can figure out how to do that. Okay.
All right, let us show our appreciation, students and colleagues, for Dr. Johnson. In the chat, you can start by sending your emojis, your raise hands, your claps, just to show our appreciation for the powerful message that Dr. Johnson would have shared with us. He has shared from his personal experiences, and he has indeed provided an example for us to reflect on, that we can be successful if we have the right attitude. We can be successful if we reflect upon our attitude and the impact that it has on others. Thank you again, Dr. Johnson. Your words, I'm sure, would have fallen on someone, would have inspired someone inside of the symposium on this platform to rethink, revitalize, and re-innovate themselves to get back on track. Some persons probably would have been down based on their situation, but you would have shown them, sir, that where you're from does not determine where you reach in life. Thank you again, Dr. Johnson. This time, we're going to be taking an inspirational item from Albertown High School in Trelawney. Are we ready?
Don't like your world. Frustrated. See how we strive to light his own candle some other way. See now your sister, she's been robbed and lied to. Still holds a candle without a flame. So carry your candles, run through the darkness, seek out the hopeless, confused and torn. Hold out your candles for all to see. Take your candle, go light your world. Take your candle, go light your confused and we are a family whose hearts are blazing. Let's raise our candles and light up the sky. Pray to our Father in the name of Jesus. Ignite your candles in the darkest night. So carry your candles, run through the darkness, seek out the hopeless, confused and torn. Hold out your candles for all to see. Take your candle, go light your world. Take your candle, go light your world. So carry your candles, run through the darkness, seek out the hopeless, confused and torn. Hold out your candles for all to see. Take your candle, go light your world. Take your candle, go light your world. Take your candle and go light your.
Item from Alberton High School, take your candle and go light your world. All good things has its finale, and we have come to the finale of our symposium. Before I invite Miss Ashley Jones from Manning High School or Manning School to do the vote of thanks, let me just share my final word with you, as it has been my privilege to chair this program along with you. So my leader is a lonely one. Oftentimes, those who seek to make a difference will not be warmly welcome. We must not take this personal, as persons are generally resistant to change. However, as leaders, we are called to be a cut above the rest. So we must demonstrate determination. As I would have said in my opening statement, we must be resilient, purposeful leaders. We must be resilient, purposeful leaders. Let us be resilient. Let us show determination. Let us show that we are called for leadership. Let us show that leadership is what we do and leadership is who we are. At this time, I invite Ms. Jones to give thanks to all the persons who would have shared with us today. Ms. Jones, over to you.
Good afternoon, all. Chairperson, Mr. Dane Sinclair, moderator, Mr. Orlando Sinclair, members of the panel, guest speakers, student leaders, and specially invited guests. Good afternoon. Let me say thank you to our Master of Ceremony, Mr. Dane Sinclair, for ably leading us through this ceremony. We thank you for your encouraging words as we prepare to lead by example and to develop other leaders. Thank you to Petersfield High, Godfrey Stewart High, Herbert Morrison, and Albert Town High for volunteering your talents for our entertainment and inspiration. To our various speakers, thank you for sharing with us your wisdom and experience. We will remember your words and advice as we all serve in our various capacities in our individual institutes. We will leave this seminar knowing that leaders must have discipline, be innovative, communicate well, and aim for self-improvement. All of us here, having heard those tremendous presentations, are inspired and ready to continue on the path of effective leadership in our various capacities. Ladies and gentlemen, student leaders, all, let us remember to whom much is given, much is expected. May we all inspire change.
Thank you, Ms. Jones, for taking us into the vote of thanks. We are at the end. We're going to be closing out with the national anthem. So we're going to invite Mr. Sinclair, Orlando Sinclair, to just play the national anthem as we bid goodbye to all our participants here today.
Okay, sir, no problem.
Strength and resilience of Jamaica and our people. My name is Agent Sasko. Please stand as we honor Jamaica, our culture, and our history.
The rest of your day. It was my pleasure cheering for you, and it was a pleasure having you. Please have a productive day.
Have a great